Pro-life leaders urged senators to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court as his confirmation hearings began this week. Gorsuch is President Donald Trump's pick to fill the late Justice Antonin Scalia's seat on the Supreme Court. During this week's confirmation hearings, Gorsuch said he will not give his personal views on Roe v. Wade, the high court case that legalized abortion nationwide. And under questioning, Gorsuch said President Trump did not ask him to overturn the abortion ruling when he was interviewed for the nomination. Gorsuch added that promising such a thing is, quote, not what judges do. In a letter to pro-life leaders during the presidential campaign, Trump promised he would nominate a pro-life justice. Mallory Quigley is the communications director for the Susan B. Anthony List, the pro-life advocacy group we're teaming up with for this program. It's good to have you here, Mallory.
Thanks so much for having me on, Catherine.
So first off, is Judge Neil Gorsuch the pro-life judge that President Trump had promised?
I think absolutely. I think we have a series of court cases to look back on. His record is very strongly pro-life, pro-religious freedom, and he may not be coming out and saying that during the hearing this past week, but that is certainly his record, and that pro-lifers should be very pleased with this pick.
So as I mentioned at the top of the show, it came out in the hearings that President Trump did not ask Gorsuch if he would overturn Roe v. Wade during their interview. Are you surprised by this? What do you make of this?
Well, it's no surprise. You know, justices make a pledge to the Constitution, not to the president. And so he has very clearly established that he has a jurisprudence that is very strong constitutionalist, originalist viewpoint. And this is very important for pro-lifers because there's not a right to abortion in the Constitution. Rather, there is a right of the state to defend its citizens and ensure their right to life. And we would argue, obviously, born and unborn. So it's no surprise that he pledged to come out and overturn Roe versus Wade. It would be imprudent for any justice to talk about a future court case completely hypothetically, not knowing any of the parties or the pieces of legislation that may or may not be challenged. But we did have this last week Senator Graham bring up a piece of legislation that was likely to be challenged.
What was that?
That was the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. Yeah, he's the lead sponsor in the Senate, Senator Graham is, and I thought it was a really beautiful moment of pro-life leadership that he used his microphone and this opportunity when he was questioning Judge Gorsuch to talk about this legislation and to talk about that the United States is only one in 7 nations and that this is a piece of legislation that does indeed challenge a major premise of Roe versus Wade.
And once again, that legislation deals with banning abortion at 20 weeks because it's scientifically proven babies feel pain at that point.
Exactly.
So there's a chance that will come to the Supreme Court if Gorsuch is confirmed. Now, there was also mentioned that Roe v. Wade is not a super precedent. What does this mean exactly? What does this indicate to pro-lifers?
Sure. Well, Judge Gorsuch did not acknowledge it as super precedent. He did say, you know, this is the status quo. It is precedent, but that, again, it's not really cause for concern. He didn't come out and say that he agreed with the decision. He's following the Ginsburg precedent, which is a long-standing history, a tradition for judicial nominees not to discuss future court cases that they may rule on. It's something that Justice Ginsburg did. She's, of course, a very pro-abortion advocate.
Now, turning matters a bit, we are expecting an upcoming Senate vote on the American Health Care Act, which would repeal and replace Obamacare. What are you monitoring closely in this legislation?
Well, we all need to be monitoring very closely the Hyde protections and the defunding Planned Parenthood provision that were included in the House bill. Now, the Senate is where things get a little bit tricky because, of course, we've got the reconciliation process. And now it's very complicated, but I'll suffice to say that anything included in the budget reconciliation bill needs to have an impact on the budget bottom line. Hyde protections, of course, that is financial policy. It deals with money. It does deal with the bottom line, but it is also social policy. Americans don't want their taxpayer dollars going to fund abortion businesses like Planned Parenthood or healthcare plans that cover abortion on demand. So we've got to pay attention to make sure that this stays in. It's the Senate parliamentarian that is sort of the partisan umpire that makes these judgments, and that's what we need to look forward to this week. And we need to keep telling our senators to insist that these protections remain in the bill.
And there is a way to do that through our call to action. Mallory Quigley, thank you for being here.
Thank you.